Today, there is no shortage of African countries where citizens are fighting either in the form of civil wars or in the form of opposition protests to the existing governments. What people may know is that these wars come as a result of internal differences, in most cases religious differences and variations in political ambitions. I am forced to understand that the current wars across African countries is imported. Why do I say that the current wars in many African countries is imported? Russia and the United States have been struggling and competing for power in Africa. Russian presence in African countries has always angered the United States, and the United States' presence in various countries has always attracted Russian attention. Recently, Russian attached Wagner Group has been on the headlines. This group poses as, let me say, a private military agency. Private military agency that purports to assist regimes to fight terrorism. Now, Wagner Group is known to support shaky governments. Leaders with problems managing their governments and countries always seek the services of Wagner Group, and across history this group has been linked to Russia and the Russian president Putin. Why am I saying that Wagner Group? Why am I saying that wars in Africa is imported? Now, this Wagner Group is always contracted to provide military support and assistance, and in exchange governments, countries and leaders always offer them unlimited access to natural resources. When I talk about natural resources, I refer to oil, I refer to gold, I refer to tan, and I refer to rare timber, among other resources. Across Africa, Mali is at war, Sudan is at war, Somalia is at war, there is war in Central African Republic, there is war in DR Congo. I want to believe and I want to inform Africans that Wagner Group is directly linked to the ongoing wars in these named countries. Let me start with Central African Republic. Now, Central African Republic has been at war for the longest time. And remember, initially I stated that Wagner Group offers security support and military interventions to countries seeking to fight terrorism in exchange for access to natural resources in terms of oil, gold, tan, and others. The Central African Republic is well known as a producer of gold. Wagner Group's presence in Central African Republic in, let me say, in the name of supporting the government fight terrorism is not true. This group's presence in this country is for Russian access to the country's gold resources. Now, you remember it was in 2018, Russia lobbied for the need to supply the Central African Republic with military equipment, and Russia engaged the United Nations Security Council to give a go-ahead for that supply. In exchange for the supply, the Central African Republic government was to give Russia access to gold mining. That was Central African Republic. Let us go to Sudan. Currently, as we speak, Sudan is at war. The government army is fighting the paramilitary rapid support forces, and Sudan is also known as the third largest producer of gold in Africa. And recently, Wagner Group and Russia declared their support for the rapid support forces. If you can link the dots, Sudan is the largest producer of gold, the third largest producer of gold in Africa, and it is at war. The presence of Wagner Group in Sudan means one thing: they offer military support in exchange for gold. I take you to another African country. This is Mali. Currently, there is unrest in Mali. Citizens are fighting. The opposition is fighting the government, and the government is also facing a threat from extremists. Mali is the fourth largest producer of gold in Africa. And from that citation, you can link that the presence of Wagner Group in Mali is for their gold. Those are just a few. I can mention the case of Somalia, which also offers a strategic porting activities for Russia and Wagner Group. You remember recently, Wagner Group declared that they will offer military support to Somalian army in exchange for what? Access to Somalian oil and access to their port, Mogadishu port. I can also mention the case of Madagascar, which in 2020 signed a $25 mining concession with a Russian-based mining company, Midas. These are just examples. I can name others. Never forget Nigeria. Never forget DR Congo. Africans must realize that the war they are currently fighting in their countries is imported. Wagner Group is present in Africa to accomplish the personal objectives of Russia. Russia is interested in Africa's resources, and Africa is in dire need of military support. Russia is ready to provide military support in exchange for resources. Africans, remember this.